Okay, guys, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna watch some Rush Limbaugh on stream. Now, I have never sat down and tried to watch or listen to Rush Limbaugh. I have a vague idea of what he sounds like. Um, but the president decided that he was going to call into Rush Limbaugh's show the other day, and yes, this is old, but we're gonna listen to a good portion of it. We're also not gonna listen to 2 hours of it unless it's very funny. So it's so funky.
Who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly
This is what I was expecting.
Lovers, thrill seekers, and right now we're so
And now I do very
Okay, calls in right away.
is a distinct honor and privilege to have you with us, and I want you to do something for me.
Wait.
sir.
I actually need to I need to make sure the chat is still visible so I can see you guys. Yeah, exactly, Ashley. I'm sure that this will be a something I regret immediately.
I want you to imagine you have just landed in a gleaming, majestic Air Force One to the largest radio rally in history. Instead of thousands cheering as you walk up to the stage, there are millions and millions of patriots out there right now anxiously awaiting to hear from you. No doubt they're waving Trump flags, wearing their bright red MAGA hats proudly. This, sir, is a mega MAGA rally, and we are all thrilled to be with you today. We are so glad you're doing better, and welcome to the EIB Network.
Well, I want to thank you, Rush. You're a fantastic man, a friend of mine. But before I really even knew you as a friend, you were like a supporter.
Doesn't
And
Rush
I said,
Limbaugh
I
have
know
like
that guy,
cancer or
he's got
something?
a big audience, but
Isn't he
I never
dying?
even knew the importance of what you do and what you say, and now I do very well. And it keeps us all in the game. And we just got great polls out of, you probably heard, out of Arizona. We're getting them out of Nevada, you know, the real polls, not the fake polls. We're getting them out of North Carolina, looking really good.
Oh yeah,
I think
okay.
Pennsylvania's looking good. Florida's looking great. It's all a big phony deal
Yeah,
they have going.
holy
Rush.
shit.
I'm in my 32nd year. We have never had a response like we had thousands of you in
Okay, they're
for
just
for
sucking
4
each
more
other
years.
off.
And I'll tell you what I want. I want them to get to know you as I do. I want them to know the Donald Trump that I know. You are one of the strongest, the most unwavering,
Holy shit!
the
Just
most
get a
determined
room already.
you- media and who you really are.
Nobody can believe that. Why would they want to live like they live in Portland, and where they just allow these agitators and anarchists to run the streets? Why would they want that? That's the only thing I haven't figured out. Why would they? And why would these big companies like
Yeah, it's a good question, guys. Why would the official stance of the Democratic Party be in favor of riots? Why would that be? Could it be that maybe the official stance of the Democratic Party is not pro-riot, but instead pro-freedom of speech, pro-justice done to in cases where cops murder innocent civilians? Maybe those are the two overriding things. Maybe the Democratic Party at large is valuing those things, or at least valuing the public's evaluation of those two things over the well-being of property. Maybe that's the case. Maybe.
Comcast? I call it Comcast. It's Comcast, but I call it Comcast because it's a con job. That's NBC mostly. But if you look at that, or CNN, which is so pathetic, why would they do that? Why would they want to have a country that's in turmoil? Because they create it. The fake news is the worst thing we have going. You know, the lamestream, I call it the lamestream media. But
Good one,
you'd
President.
think that
What
they'd want to
what a
see great
meme.
education, great country, great security, strong
They
military.
don't want to see you responsible for it. They don't.
It's a crazy thing, Rush. It's the
Well-
one thing I've never quite figured it out, you know. And they become less wealthy. You know, to a large extent, they become less wealthy. And they're willing to give up their wealth in order to see the country go to hell. Someday when you figure that out, you're going to let me know. Okay?
I'll tell you.
the
I'll
only thing
tell
I
you
can't
today.
figure
I know exactly what
Go
this
ahead.
is. But before,
Go
you know,
ahead.
we've got a lot of questions for you from from members of the audience. And before we dive into those, I need to ask you something that I've not really had a chance to ask you prior. Before you did this, before 2015, when you came down the escalator and announced your candidate, you had a storybook life. You had an absolutely fabulous life. You had a life that anybody would aspire to. You were very successful. You were happy. You were a media darling. They loved you back then. Why did you decide to run for president and put up with the day in and day out maligning that you get?
Guys, this is Rush Limbaugh right now asking a man who is $500 million in personal debt to unknown people, asking, why did you run for president? What possible benefits do you think, you use your brains out there, what possible benefits could a president of the United States get in order to leverage themselves out of $500 million of personal debt? Just, question that. Wonder about that in your brain pan.
Because you did not have to do this.
I'll tell you, it's such a great question. And I do it again, even though it's far worse. I never thought I'd be involved with a Russia hoax or a Ukraine hoax or be impeached because I made a phone call congratulating somebody that I never met to or spoke to on becoming the president of Ukraine. And all of a sudden you get impeached. And it was a perfect phone call. A letter that we actually,
who the fuck
fortunately,
talks
we had
like
it
this,
transcribed
guys?
because they made up the phone call. They said it was totally different. Fortunately,
who describes a phone
maybe
call
I
as
wouldn't be
perfect?
talking to you right now in this capacity, at least. Fortunately, we had it transcribed. It was transcribed, the exact call. If we didn't, they would have, you know what Schiff said. He said it before Congress. He repeated my call. It had no bearing on what I said. It was a perfect phone call, and I got impeached over it. I never knew it would be so unpleasant, but nobody has done more.
Fun fact, guys. Did you know that in the Bible and in a lot of religious texts, they repeat different phrases and words over and over again? And the repetition is actually a handy device, like a literary device, that enables ideas to better stick in one's brain. Trump has actually tapped into this marvelous power and is using it in the stupidest way possible to hammer home into the people who listen to him that his phone calls were perfect. Whatever that means. The vulgarity of his language allows anyone to put any kind of meaning they want into the things that stick in their brains from when he talks. It's actually a pretty brilliant strategy. In the way like a suckerfish has brilliantly adapted to its shitty underwater environment.
Or in the last 3.5 years as president, in the first 3.5 years that I have, nobody. I mean, if you look at rebuilding the military and the economy and the best employment numbers we've ever had, and we've got regulations
super great
to a point
employment
that's so
numbers right
incredible,
now.
Nobody's
Super
ever
great.
seen. If you look at Veterans' Choice in the VA, accountability. We had people in the VA that would beat up our veterans and beat them up badly. They're infirm, they're not well, they're not feeling well, and you had these animals in there that would beat them up. We couldn't do anything about them. Now, with accountability, you have to account.
Wait, is that
and
true?
We fire them, and worse, we get rid of them.
People would go
And
into the
our
VA and
vets
just
have a
someone
91%
standing
approval
there.
rating, the highest we've ever had in the VA. You don't hear those bad stories about
Just
the VA
like a
anymore
Three
like you used
Stooges
to.
routine.
And now they get immediate doctor attention if they have to wait online. I mean, but that's so many different things.
Oh, Trump
right
absolutely is
to try, where they can try
dehumanizing his
medicines.
enemies.
I mean, I can sort of give you an example of that with the COVID, because I was in not great shape, and we have a medicine that healed me, that fixed me. It's a great medicine. And had I not gotten it, Rush, it would have been in line for another year probably before they brought it out. Great company, two great companies actually make it.
Cool.
Make very
How
similar
much does
things,
it
but
cost
they
for the
both work
average
equally
citizen?
well. And we're going to send it. We're already sending it. Starting the process is hundreds of thousands
Wait,
of vials.
wait,
are being
Ashley,
sent to
is
the
that
hospitals all over the
true?
country.
They had people in the VA whose specific job was roughing up veterans? Or is this like a one-off thing that is being blown up into like Is this a one-off thing that is being blown up into a systemic problem? Oh, okay. So Riot Girl Cali, the choice program he's talking about was implemented under Obama. Cool. I feel like I need more information on this nurses roughing up patients story. VA nurses fight. Um, I feel like what? Okay, I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing news stories on this. Ashley, feel free to send me something on Twitter if you have any sources on that. Okay.
People are going to get immediately better, like I did. I mean, I feel better now than I did 2 weeks ago. It's crazy, and I
Oh yeah,
recovered
doctors can
immediately,
absolutely
almost
abuse their
immediately. I might
power.
not have recovered at
I'm
all
just wondering about
from
like
COVID.
the
To,
prevalence of
me, it's
that
the
in
biggest story, but the press
in the
doesn't
VA
even want to
system
report
because
that.
I don't have any
They
knowledge
talk about
that.
the vaccines, and the vaccines are very important, Dresh. But this is more important because we can go into hospitals and clean out the hospitals, literally, with people that the vaccines are very important. It's a different stage.
Well, yeah, this is the antibodies that
Well, this is
speeding
the
up.
antibody. This is the antibody, and Regeneron. It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I had a meeting with doctors today.
policies
It's
they have
always
around
the good thing
mental
about when you're
health
president,
is
11 doctors
pretty
show up, and
pretty
they're all the head
sad.
of
We
Johns
need better
Hopkins and
mental
this
health
and that. They're
care
great
and better
people.
access to
But
it.
Walter Reed is an incredible place, and these 11 guys came in today. They showed me stats. It's amazing. I don't know that I would have. I don't know that I was not in the greatest of shape. A day later, I was fine, maybe perfect, but I was fine. But a couple of days later, and now I'm free. I feel perfect. I'm not taking anything. I'm off any regimen that they gave me. But it was primarily this one drug, and we're sending that and the Eli Lilly version of it, which is very similar. We're sending that to all of our hospitals. We're going to get people better. We got to get it there fast. That's why I'm doing an emergency use authorization. I got to get them to approve it really fast. But I gave them my numbers to put in with the other numbers that they already have, which are very good, excellent.
What does that mean?
And it's the most amazing thing. And it's not
God,
remdesivir. Maybe that
he
helps
can,
a little
he
bit.
can
But
barely
remdesivir is from
put words
not the
together in
same
a
thing.
coherent
This
way.
is stuff that is so good. It just wiped out the virus. It wiped it out.
Also,
I'll
Archangel
tell you,
DeKalb,
we're so happy
I'm
that
not going to
you-
mod
Sorry,
anybody
It
for a
was
while
scary
because
when
I
we
can
heard
still
that,
manage chat
that
by
you tested
myself.
positive, given your demographics. You were right there in the number one target area for people that have trouble with this, and it's so you sound great. I've been
I feel great,
reading that you got a hacking cough and that your voice is
No,
hoarse
that's not
and
that.
you sound perfectly normal to me.
Well, there's always that little, that little lingering thing for a couple of days. But no, I have my voice is now perfect. I mean, for a couple of days, it's called the lingering thing. If you have hay fever, if you have something, you have that too, a little bit. But no, this is the most amazing thing that's happened. And I was asking the doctors today, 11 guys, great people, the heads of the biggest hospitals. It's amazing. I guess the president has a lot of power,
Yeah.
but everybody shows up.
VA
What do you do? I'm the head
VA
of Johns Hopkins.
has a
or I'm
lot
the
of
head it's always
has
like,
a lot of
but
problems.
they're
It's
very
also
brilliant people.
a really well received
And I said, how
institution
bad
in some
was I? They
cases.
said, you could have been very bad.
So
you were going into a very
it,
bad
it
phase.
depends.
And
It depends,
so it wasn't like,
you
it was
said,
just
Riot
gonna,
Girl
like with,
Callie,
with the
on
kids,
where you
where
get
they
it.
get it and they get sniffles and they're better 2 days later, right? This looks like it was going to be a big deal, and you know what that means.
Also, as somebody who works in like a nonprofit that deals with kids and healthcare, um, no, there's actually a startling number of kids who get COVID-19 and have to spend extended amounts of time in the hospital. In fact, it's putting a real colossal strain on children's hospitals. to the extent that like somewhere around 60% of them aren't going to be able to meet their financial obligations for next year. So like, yeah, this is actually a huge problem for kids. Not and the idea that, oh, kids just get it and they get better. No, they don't. Um, a lot of them do. A lot of them don't. And the amount of kids that don't just get better and don't just have mild cases is enough to sink a lot of children's hospitals.
Means, right? That means bad, because I've lost 5 people, at least 5 people that were friends of mine.
Oh yeah, and kids
One in
have
particular, like
really
an incredible guy
weird
who
like
went in
additional
there,
complications
went into
from
the hospital. He was
COVID-19.
dead within 3 days, and I'm just saying that we have something that will cure this now, and a cure. And without us, without Trump administration, this would never have happened.
We do not
We poured
have a
money
means
into
of
these
curing
cures,
COVID-19.
and we poured money into the vaccines. And the vaccines are coming along great, Rush. I mean, the vaccines, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, they're all coming along great. A little bit political. You know, they're afraid it's going to go too fast and I'll get credit for it before the election.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to, Mr.
No,
President,
no one is trying to slow down a cure because of political reasons. However, Trump projects these things all the time. That is what he would do were his opponents the ones working on a cure. However, there are people who have serious concerns about drugs that are not sufficiently tested going through a rapid development process and being released to the general public during a pandemic, because whatever nasty side effects they might have then get spread to the general population, and who knows what those side effects might be. You could be poisoning millions of people. So there's a reason we test our drugs rigorously.
Have been forced, because of media coverage, to tout your own successes. You have been forced to tell, like you just did in the past 5 minutes here. And it rubs some people the wrong way. They think you're bragging. They think that you're insecure, that you need to constantly. Would you explain to people why you find it necessary to tout your successes rather than let somebody in the White House or a PR type operation do it for you? Why do you find it necessary to do yourself?
Well, first of all, it's such a great question, and most people can't understand it. As an example, I was nominated for 2 Nobel Peace Prizes.
Three now. Some guy from Italy has nominated you.
Oh, that's good. Well, it won't be written about. When Obama got it, it was the biggest story. I remember very well. He didn't even know why he got it. Got it almost.
And he got his on the come. He got his on the come. He hadn't even done anything yet.
That's right. He didn't
got
know.
his on the
explain
what?
Why he got it, but I can.
On the
and
come?
One is Middle East peace without any blood. Okay, and by the way, countries are lining up.
Trump did not create peace in the Middle East. There's currently a war going on between Saudi Arabia and Yemen that we bomb Yemen in. We left the Kurds to die. His first military operation in office was to bomb people to death in the Middle East. Not to bomb people to death in the Middle East. To send in a SEAL team to assassinate people, including an American citizen. So, like, no, he didn't make peace in the Middle East without blood, okay, guys? And also, there is no peace in the Middle East currently, so...
The other is, if you look at Kosovo and Serbia, they've been killing each other forever, and I got them to be peace and, good stuff. And then I just heard about the third. It wasn't even on the news, okay? I joke about it in speeches sometimes. I'll joke about it. I tell my wife, let's watch tonight. It'll be a wonderful night. And they don't even cover it. They don't cover any good stuff with me. Anything that's good, they don't cover. Anything that's okay or bad. I mean, bad, they make it sound like, like let's do the electric chair thing. But it is the most dishonest. The media are the most dishonest people I've ever met. And that's why I go back to the original. I just don't know why. I mean, they can't hate somebody so much, but I guess they do. But they do it with Republican conservatives. I mean, you've had it before I came along. But I don't think never to this extent. They say that Newt Gingrich, they said that
How
The
can
one that
people
got worse
listen?
than me was
This is
Abraham
2
Lincoln. I said,
hours
"I
long,
disagree."
guys.
They say Abraham Lincoln was
Right.
just decimated by the press. I said maybe he was, but it couldn't be worse. If I do something good, they make it look bad. If I do something okay, they make it look like
Abraham
horrible,
Lincoln had
horrible.
half the country
And
secede
the
because they
reason
hated
I
him so
talk-
much.
and I
You
say
aren't
it,
more
might as well talk
persecuted
about
than
it yourself
Abraham
because nobody else
Lincoln.
will.
What the fuck is
If
he
I give it
talking
to our
about?
very good people, Kaylee, and we have a lot of good people at the White House. If I give it to them to go out, they won't report it. And did you ever see the way the press, the hostility of the press, the way they scream at these very nice people? They'll make just
Also, I looked at your article, Ashley, and I totally recognize that there's a lot of waste and a lot of abuses that occur within the V8 system. But I guess when I was reading through your messages and Riot Girl Callie's messages, I was under the impression that like physically, like these veterans were being physically assaulted by staff, which it doesn't seem like they were, just kind of reading through this, but there were a lot of like abuses in the system that led to long wait times that did get people killed, and a lot of misuses of funds and kickbacks and a lot of fraud going on in the system, which are all also bad, but not quite what I was picturing in my head. Yeah. Okay. Now we're on the same page. I get what you're saying.
just an ordinary statement, and they'll start screaming like a bunch of maniacs. The media.
Well, there are
White
reasons
House,
for
it's
it.
just incredible.
Let me tell you one of the reasons, and it's
They are
Oh, and yeah, there are a lot of things about coronavirus that we still don't know, and what Archangel DeKalb is saying is not actually ridiculous. There is a lot of evidence that coronavirus can make it up into your brain and into a lot of nooks and crannies in your body where viruses typically are not able to go. So there are a lot of fringe cases where weird stuff is happening.
sick. It's crazy. Go ahead.
well, they are they're in a way they are. I think they have been poisoned to an extent. And I mean this, folks, poisoned by their own hatred. This is not the original reason, but we're into 4 years now that they have tried everything they know to get rid of you. And not a single thing, not a single weapon has worked. These people, if they want to, Mr. President, and Newt's an example, they're able to take out, Sarah Palin's another, they're able to take out and destroy any Republican they choose. It took them 7 years to finally ruin George W. Bush and his reputation in the war in Iraq. But they did it. They got his approval numbers down to the 30s. You in Zogby today are still at 51. They haven't landed
If we could
a dent,
destroy
sir.
any
They have not
Republican
taken
we
you
wanted,
off of
we would
your
have
agenda.
control over the
They've
Senate,
they've
Rush
maybe
Limbaugh.
distracted you for now and then, but they haven't stopped you. They can't believe it. They're throwing everything, and so they are
God.
doubling down on
Is
doing
it not
whatever
embarrassing
they
for this
can
man to
try
just be
get rid of you,
sucking
just to
Trump's
prove that they
dick on
can.
his program?
And it's frustrating as heck that they haven't been able to. It's an amazing thing. And I'm like you. I watched this coverage and I asked me how many of the American people realize without being told how basically dishonest and unfair this all is. And you hope that a majority of Americans see it for
Rush
what it is and
Limbaugh,
react
you went
accordingly.
apoplectic
But I tell
over
you, it's
Obama wearing a
that
tan
and the
suit
fact that you're
or
an
wanting
outsider.
Dijon
They never
mustard
thought
on his
you were
hot
gonna win.
dog.
They didn't even think you wanted
Like,
to win. They thought you were
holy
engaged
shit.
in a PR stunt in
The
the first place.
duplicity in these
Which is
people.
Then you're also implementing policies, sir, that they detest. Your agenda is a small government. Well, it was before the pandemic hit. Your agenda is basically pro-freedom, pro-liberty, pro-the American citizen first. You want to make America... Can you believe...
Just as an FYI, guys, Trump took away my healthcare protections, and Trump literally restricted my freedom from doing, like restricted my civil rights. So, like, Trump is not pro-freedom. Except maybe for, like, white cis people who have a lot of money. Those are the freedom, like, the people who have those things are the people he cares about. If you don't fall into that category, they could give less of a shit about you.
Make America great again's controversial? Who in the world could find a problem with that? These sick people have found a way to make America great again is reason to destroy you? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, Rush, remember how big the wall was? Everything was the wall, the wall, the wall, and it got bigger and bigger because they figured there was no way to get it financed because it's a massive, it's thousands of months. The whole thing it's a massive project. It's one of the biggest, it's actually one of the biggest projects, government projects ever. Anyway, so we're building the wall. We're up to 380 miles of wall. Had a huge impact. Nobody gets through this wall. This wall is everything the Border Patrol wanted. I built it exactly. I didn't even agree with them on certain parts of it, but I think they were right. They had to have see-through.
Yeah, party of small government, but also it's the biggest government project ever conceived.
You can imagine.
Sure. Okay.
It is the best. Okay, it's the best, and it's had an impact that you wouldn't believe, and nobody thought I was going to get it done. Now it's almost completed. It'll be completed toward the end of the year, very soon. And
you're not going to complete the wall in a year, you dumb fuck.
Beyond that, but you have
you
a
just
lot of
said there are
thousands of rivers and mountains and other things that really do a pretty good job.
People would never be able to cross mountains or
you don't even hear
rivers.
about it anymore.
True.
And you don't hear about how great the border numbers are. People today, I ended catch and release, which was not easy because I had to go through the Democrats, but I ended, you used to catch somebody and they'd release them into our country. And they'd come back 4 years later, but nobody would ever come back for a court case. It was the craziest thing. You'd catch somebody, even a murderer, and then you'd release them into our country. And then you'd say, you have to be back here.
No one was catching murderers and just being like, okay, you're free to go now, Mr. Murderer. We have the murdering evidence that you did a murder, but our hands are tied by Obama's weak and ineffective border policies. No one was doing that. God damn. And also, the idea that most people weren't coming back for their court date. No, actually, most people do come back for their court date because that's their pathway to becoming a legal citizen. Because most of the people coming here, if they're from Latin America, are not coming across the border just to casually work. A lot of them are coming as refugees. And in order to apply legally for refugee status, you need to come into the country first. So those people are highly motivated to meet their court date. It's absolutely silly. This is some silly sauce right here, guys.
In 2.5 years to go to trial, and nobody would come back. Only the very dumbest would come back. Okay, and that was about 1%. No, that was about 1%, and it was crazy. Catch and release. I mean, there were many programs like that. We got rid of most of them, and it's not easy to get rid of them. You had to go through all sorts of hoops. But I got rid of catch and release. We have a very good border now. Now only people that come in.
Do you know why we had catch and release, by the way? Catch and release was entirely instituted because it's a lot cheaper to do that than it is to hold onto tens of thousands of people. It's a lot easier to do catch and release than it is to build concentration camps and run them. And the reason that we're doing that now is because our government is in bed with private prisons. And those private prisons are running our concentration camps. So, all of this is just racist shit to benefit rich pricks at the expense of human lives, and it's obviously bad, and I feel like we should be able to we can fix this, but the idea that no one can just see that this is obviously a bad thing is really disconcerting to me. And I would expect, by the way, that if Trump wins, we would see a rise in the number of people, and maybe the demographics of different people who get sent to these private concentration camps, because historically the use of concentration camps tends to expand over time, not decrease suddenly. because you get the public used to having concentration camps, and then you slowly put more people in who you don't like. That's often how it works.
Legally coming in. We have the wall made a tremendous difference. But you notice you never hear about the wall anymore.
Well,
never talk
not only
about it.
that, there have been 2 debates, sir, and in both those debates, your first and the vice presidential debate, there have been 2 areas that have never been explored. Not one question asked about. One's gun control, the Second Amendment. The other is immigration.
Yeah, no one's ever asked either of those questions.
Those are 2 strong areas of yours where the American people are with you by a massive majority
That's right.
support number. So
They
they're
don't
not
talk
even being
about
brought up.
immigration. They don't talk about immigration. And we have immigration down really good. In fact, I was going to do an immigration bill. I have it all done.
You want
And then
to
my guy
know
said,
why
"Why bring it
immigration is down, by the way? It's because we have made life sufficiently shitty in the United States that people don't want to come here anymore. That's why immigration is down, okay? We've succeeded in making our country a third world country for anyone who isn't obscenely wealthy. So, it's... in that case, people don't tend to want to come here. So I guess yay us, we made our country significantly worse. Yay.
it up, sir. You have the same policies that you're already implementing, and you've why should you go through the controversy of it? I mean, we have a great the people that wanted the wall generally love what I've done. I mean, because what we've done and immigration generally, we got
Most of the people who wanted the wall live nowhere near where the wall was being built. The people who wanted the wall wanted it because they don't like brown people, and like they had a neighbor move into the neighborhood who's like half Latina, and they think that they're poor and not up to the standards of the community. Like that's why most people wanted the border wall built. And it's just insane that this is our policy, because most illegal immigrants come by airplane. It's true.
a couple hardliners
true.
out there, friends of yours, but the people that wanted the wall, I've done far more than I thought. Our immigration now, because it wasn't just the wall, but we had to cut a lot of these crazy things out. I mean, you have chain migration where somebody comes in illegally. We have a killer who killed 8 people on the West Side Highway, ran over 8 people, a terrorist, jihadist, came in through the southern border, and through chain migration, he brings in his mother, his father, his grandmother, his aunts, his brothers, his uncles. He brings in all these people.
What?
And I say, wait a minute. And what
Wait,
we've done is
what?
incredible on immigration.
Wait, what?
Think of it. You have
Wait,
killers
wait.
that come in and brother his aunt. We have a killer who killed 8 people on the West Side Highway, ran over 8 people, a terrorist, jihadist, came in.
A terrorist jihadist. What? Terrorist jihadist southern border chain migration. Let's see. Oh, okay. Here's the AP fact check. Let's go with that, okay? Trump's mythical terrorist tied from Mexico. President Trump and his officials persist in promoting the discredited notion that terror suspects are pouring into the U.S. from Mexico by the thousands. Despite the portrayal of Mexico as a teeming portal for terrorists, the State Department issued a report in September finding no credible evidence indicating that international terrorist groups have established bases in Mexico, worked with Mexican drug cartels, or sent operatives via Mexico into the United States. It went on, the U.S. southern border remains vulnerable to potential terrorist transit, although terrorist groups likely seek other means of trying to enter the United States. Interesting. Let's see. We have terrorists coming through the southern border because they find that's probably the easiest way to come through. Trump said they drive right in and they make a left. What? If they're driving through border crossings, no wall will stop them. But as to his broader point, U.S. officials have not cited evidence of a terrorist influx from Mexico. And you can bet your ass that if they had that data, they would be touting it non-stop to prove their points. But they don't. They only have these weird anecdotes that are largely not based in reality. Okay, so we don't have a Mexican jihadi, I guess. Like, that, we don't have that, okay?
And through chain migration, the chain, he brings in his mother, his father, his grandmother, his aunts, his brothers, his uncles.
The chain migrating jihadi terrorist from Mexico.
And I say, wait a minute.
Who brings in his
and
entire
what we've
extended
done is
family.
Incredible on immigration. You know, think of it. You have killers that come in, and because of chain migration, they're allowed to bring other people into the country.
That's why they're not asking you about this.
They don't want to talk to me about it.
But no one's saying,
so many
yes,
things
let
like
the murderer
cities.
live
the
here.
people in
No one's
California
saying
hate
that.
sanctuary cities. I don't know where it gets its political stamina, because the people in California, they see me all the time. I think we'll do well in California. I mean, in theory, you don't win California because everybody likes to vote 3 times, okay, if you want to know the truth. I don't know if you ever saw the list.
Well, we're going to get into
yeah,
that
true, Gringo Nut. Only terrorists make left turns. All true patriots take rights till they go the desired direction.
It's disgraceful. But the people in California, they don't like sanctuary cities. What are you doing with the sanctuaries? You're protecting criminals. Who wants that? And I've had so many people, liberal friends of mine from California, we'd love
a reminder that crossing the border is not actually like a crime. It is in fact a misdemeanor on the same level as driving over the speed limit. So if you've ever driven faster than the posted speed limit on the highway, you are just as much a criminal as anyone who is in the country illegally and has done nothing else wrong. Okay? So just so you have that bit of information in your brain, okay?
to get rid of sanctuary cities. Where that thug from, as you know, Kate's Law. Remember Kate's Law? We should have been, we tried like hell to get it passed, but we had we left the filibuster, okay? We should have, gotten rid of the filibuster only because I said, Schumer's going to do it. I told Mitch, I said, Mitch, I get along great with Mitch. We had the greatest success in history on judges. We'll be up to 300 judges and 2 Supreme Court judges and now 3. Hopefully that'll go quickly. I think she's going to go very quickly. So I have 3 Supreme Court judges, but in the first term.
Oh, I'm sure that they can send someone to Guantanamo Bay for any reason.
As soon as the Democrats do get in, at some
probably
point
not a good one. But like the legal consequences of crossing the border illegally by themselves,
as you know,
are a misdemeanor.
And that'll be the end of the filibuster, and they'll approve stuff left and right, 50%. They'll go left and right.
Well, most of the people in Guantanamo Bay weren't terrorists either.
It's not that they're not right. They did it the right way. Harry Reid. We got lucky because Harry Reid thought that Hillary was going to win, and she knocked out the filibuster for the judges. Otherwise, I wouldn't have 300 judges. I'd have 2 judges.
They all thought Hillary was going to win, and that's another reason why you remain so despised and hated. And it's not you per se. I mean, some of it is.
No,
it's just the
we're
fact
upset about his
that
policies.
You came along and totally upended their grand plans
we're
for globalism.
We're upset because he killed 200,000 people by poorly responding to the pandemic.
You really just upset the apple cart in ways.
We're upset because he gave trillions of dollars to rich people.
The administration was going to be Obama's 3rd term. And you've just totally thrown them upside down. Now, this leads me to another thing. I go back and I compare the 2016 campaign. And at that point, you don't have a record. You are running for president, but you don't have a record. And you're having so much fun out there. You can tell, every rally.
Wait, what do you mean he doesn't have a record?
Every press encounter you have is
what
just
does that mean?
Loads of fun. Now, you got 3.5 years in, almost 4. You've got a record that just infuriates the Democrats and the media, which are one and the same. And is it as much fun for you now? Is it the whole idea of campaigning?
Don't care about this question.
Frustration.
Space Force, that's a big deal.
Space Force is not a big deal.
Fake polls. I don't know. One in Republicans have been really very good to me. Let's play a much to call him and impeach me.
This is him talking about how fun it is, by the way.
Maybe. And they're going like open borders.
But This election is really, it boils down to two propositions. One is it's between a man, you, who believes America is good and decent and great,
Right.
against people who are behind Joe Biden, who think America isn't good. They think America is unjust and immoral from the days of our founding, and they are trying.
We just had the president put out a press release today about how glorious and great Columbus Day is. And Columbus has been integrated into the mythos of the United States. Columbus literally, by his own admission, gave out children to be raped and wrote in his diary how girls 9 to 10 years old were in much demand. One of his men bragged about, in writing, about how he had raped a native woman. And in fact, it's a matter of record that Columbus's men also raped a lot of people. And you know what? They also instituted the economia, which was a system by which if native peoples did not bring them gold, they chopped off their hands. It's recorded that his men would routinely bet on whether or not they could split a native in half with swords. They enslaved the people they encountered here. They would ship them back to America, or ship them back to Europe, and like half of them would die on the way. So like, that's the kind of thing that is being held up by our government as being good and just. As being, yeah, Columbus was an innocent explorer and didn't do anything wrong, and he discovered America, and for that reason, we honor him every day, every year of our lives, and we will put our lives down on the line to defend Columbus and the sanctity of his contribution to our history. And like, he presided over rapists and murderers and slavery and cruelty beyond imagining. So like, maybe we shouldn't do that. And maybe we're taking that, the way our government props up those narratives and whitewashes them for general consumption, as a sign that our country isn't actually as good and just as our presiding narratives have historically taught us.
Trying to undermine and transform this country.
Economienda. A lot of the Tainos natives committed suicide rather than be under the control of Christopher Columbus. So, yeah.
As founded, and that's what.
Yeah, look, if you're defending Christopher Columbus Day, a day that is explicitly to talk about how great Columbus was, you're defending Christopher Columbus as somebody worthy of having a day in honor of him. I can think of more people who deserve a day in American history that aren't Christopher Columbus.
Why you are undermined, and that's why your successes are hidden. That's why your successes are distorted and lied about. It's no more complicated than that. If you love this country,
he could. Yes, true.
America,
he could be defending
America
just getting a day off of
exists,
school.
You don't have a choice in this election. Your only choice is President Trump. If you don't support President Trump here, you are going to end up facilitating the transformation of America into a country it was never intended to be. You're going to have $13 a gallon gasoline with the Green New Deal.
We have airplanes now, Rush Limbaugh. The founding fathers never intended us to have air travel. What the fuck is even that talking point?
You're going to have so much disruption in your life that you can't possibly imagine. And don't doubt me, they're not going to be honest with you about this. But that's really what this is about. You are good. You believe America is good. You believe America is great. You want
Your
to keep
dick
it
is
that
so
way,
good in
and
my
you
mouth,
want to
Mr.
solidify
President.
it, and you want America's
It
greatness
makes me
to be
so
enshrined
erect.
and empowered for decades beyond you.
And America has great potential too, because any shortcomings we can
Rush
solve those
Limbaugh
shortcomings, but
would
they're going to make them much
unironically
shorter.
love
I mean,
living
America has
in
tremendous potential. When you
Colombia
look at
from
what we've done
Bioshock
with
Infinite.
energy, and they want to take that advantage away and give it to these other countries that are going to always have energy. When you look at the environment, I'm very important. I love the environment. The environment. I want clean air. I want clean water. I want, And by the
You
way,
shouldn't
our
even have
carbon-
to say that. You shouldn't have to say everybody
Yeah.
wants clean water. The fact that they're out there
The
claiming
water
you
in
want
Flint,
dirty
Michigan
water and
is
dirty-
still
You shouldn't
poison.
even have to say you like clean water.
Yeah,
That's
it's
outrageous.
Like the forest fires in California.
It is
If we had
outrageous,
forest
but the
management,
thing
you
is,
wouldn't have any
your
forest
policies
fires. In
actively
Europe,
make
you go
all of
there,
these
they
things
live- they have
worse.
forest nations. They call them Austria, different places. They don't have the woods burning down, and their trees are more explosive than ours, meaning explosive from potential fire. They have trees, and they have
Yes,
they
they have
maintain
trees
their
in other
forests, and they
countries,
put
but
cuts in between. So if they have a
fuck,
fire,
fuck the stupidity. Okay, guys. Global warming affects different areas of the planet differently because the planet is very large and our climate is also very large. So changes to the climate affect different places differently at different times. So maybe the fact that California is positioned where it is and the geography around California is such that it makes it a little bit different than the forests in Europe. Maybe just a little different, okay, guys? Maybe just maybe the issue is more complicated than they have people manually sweeping their forests for sticks and twigs. Maybe the issue is more complicated than that. Holy fuck!
doesn't burn down 500,000 acres. They do it properly. Our people don't do that. And then we talk about, they want our air clean, but they don't talk about China, Russia, India, these other countries where the pollution is massive going up.
The only people who think that climate activists aren't talking about other countries are people on the right who believe this dipshit. People who advocate for changes on climate policy do so on a global scale. That's why the Paris Climate Accord was such a big deal, because it got a bunch of countries to come to the table and commit to different worldwide targets. Now, that agreement lacked teeth. However, it was better than nothing. So when he's talking about air quality and blaming other countries for having bad air quality, but simultaneously taking us out of climate accords, just understand that he is full of shit.
So we have a clean spot on a massive planet. We have a clean spot, which is a small percentage of the planet, a very small percentage of the planet. And then China is spewing crap, and Russia and all of these other India.
Wait, Ghost, are you an unironic climate change denialist? Are you really? Well, no, not if it's heating incrementally. On the extreme end, yeah, we would have just one season, if our climate got to such an extent that the planet was literally uninhabitable. But we're not at that point yet. So, yeah, a lot of places still experience 4 seasons. But also, there are large patches of the world that are slowly becoming uninhabitable, around the equator. It's actually, unironically, a huge problem. Also, climate change is a complicated scientific process. So some areas of the world will have more extreme seasons, whereas others will have more moderate seasons. But those moderate seasons will be warming up. For example, I live in Minnesota, and so we've had some seasons lately where the winters have overwhelming amounts of snow, way more snow than they usually have. Is simple. There's an easy test where you put in a certain amount of heat energy Then you test the insulation with different amounts of gases and different compositions. There's no doubt that climate change is real and exacerbated by man. But wait, then why are you saying it's not happening? Would the polar if Earth was really warming, would the polar bears overheat? Well, no, I mean, yes, eventually, but the bigger threat to polar bears is the fact that their environment will uh, perish long before they start overheating. And if their environment goes, so do the polar bears. So like they can't continue living without their environment. Um, I'm I'm very confused by your position, Ghost. It seems like you're saying it's not real, but it's also real, which is very confusing. However, I think you just said that climate change is real, so we can move on with the rest of this Rush Limbaugh lunacy.
And did you ever see what they dump into the ocean that floats into California?
Yeah, that's
It's like unbelievable.
exactly right, folks.
And we end up cleaning it up, and then they say, well, the environment, the environment. It's I could tell you hundreds of stories. A lot of what you and I talk about is really based on common sense.
Fun fact: most of the plastic that you recycle actually winds up in landfills. So when he's talking about trash floating across the ocean, that's actually a problem that we created, like the United States, because of our consumptive practices. Because basically, a lot of the time when people recycle, and this is not to say that you shouldn't recycle, but the plastic recycling campaign in particular was actually initiated by oil companies in order to sell more plastic, to get people more comfortable with using plastic. And the recycling programs that were set up would actually ship the plastic bottles and trash overseas to China, where they would throw them in landfills. Now, the problem now is that China has stopped receiving shipments of plastic, so we have a burgeoning problem when it comes to the plastic that people are recycling, because it's actually kind of expensive to properly recycle and reuse it. Yeah, the problem of trash washing up on our shores is also the problem that we ourselves cause.
People say, "Are you a conservative?" I say, "No, I'm
Based on common sense and love of and for country.
What? Ghost, are you having a lark? Because it feels like you're just saying crazy things to get a rise, and you're gonna cause Gringo Nut to go crazy. Um, but no, evolution doesn't work on that time scale to adapt a mammalian lung structure to swimming. It doesn't work that fast. You need a time scale of millions of years, and the changes that we are experiencing in our climate are going to occur over like the next couple centuries. Yeah, whales are mammals, but whales had millions of years to go from land-based, lung-based animals and back into water-based animals. So like the conflation of polar bears with whales is not good at all. It's very silly. um yeah, also they do not have gills, okay? Um
And people.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true.
Now, I got to get to some questions. We've been, and I'll tell
Yeah,
you
polar
something,
bears
sir,
are
when we went through
not
the
very good at
questions, and
swimming.
Literally, I'm telling you, I've never had a response like you generated
Great.
when your appearance was announced. It's the most amazing thing, sir.
Well, I
And
think
you know
you're going
what?
to see that.
You know
Rush.
what?
I think you're going to see that come November 3rd and a little before that, because our people don't want to send in these fake ballots that are being
Well,
fraudulently made all over the place.
We're going to get into that, but
Holy shit, guys, the fake ballots, 50,000 ballots were sent out by an organization that is paid to send out ballots, and they immediately recalled them and sent out new ones. Okay, so like, and you couldn't even use the fake ballots if you wanted to. That was like they weren't even fake. They were just misprints. You couldn't use them if you wanted to, guys. Holy shit!
But you know what?
Yeah.
Probably one of the most mentioned topics in the questions was
Wait, Ghost, are you an unironic, like, young Earther? Because the world is quantifiably not 6,000 years old. Like, you realize you can carbon date rocks, and that rocks are far older than 6,000 years old? You understand that, right? Like, the very process that exists to make elements necessitates a universe that is billions of years old. You trust carbon? People are made out of carbon, and they like. Okay, you're having a good joke. Good meme.
healthcare. People
Good
are
meme,
scared.
comrade.
Let me give you a sample question. Dear President Trump, this is a woman in Massachusetts named Kathy. I'm glad that you and the First Lady are recovering from COVID. So happy you are our president. Thank you for all you do to defend us. And the questions about healthcare and pre-existing conditions are very important to me and a lot of Americans. I believe you said pre-existing conditions will be covered in your healthcare plan, but please, could you explain this a little more? Because there are a lot of people saying that you're not going to cover pre-existing conditions.
The issue here is that Republicans have had literally over 12 years to come up with their own healthcare plan, and they haven't been able to come up with one. The one that they came up with was the Romney Care Plan, which is the one that Obama adapted into the Affordable Care Act. So the issue here is that Trump's replacement healthcare plan that he keeps talking about and never giving any details about, aside from saying that it will cover pre-existing conditions. The problem is they don't actually have a plan, and there is no plan to cover anyone with a healthcare plan. So it's just not going to happen.
And you need to get your message out since the Democrats are trying to malign you on this, and we need to know. Pre-existing conditions are a big deal. Does your plan cover them?
So the Democrats are vicious and they lie. And what they do is, as an example, healthcare and other things, they have me standing at a grave of a beautiful soldier in an old cemetery, magnificent cemetery, and nobody respects soldiers more than I do, especially whether you're talking about live soldiers or soldiers that gave their lives. And they have a source say, these are suckers and losers. This was for a magazine that's
by the way,
third-rate,
there were
super liberal
multiple
magazine.
outlets across
And
4 different anonymous sources, okay?
They took that quote from one source. I have 25 people that verbally, that, on the record said that was never said. Who would ever say that? Only an animal would say that. I don't know. I know some very bad people. Nobody do I know that would say a thing like that. They put it in ads. They make it like I said it. I never said. Just the opposite. I've taken care of the military better than anybody. They do the same thing with healthcare. They will make up a statement that's so bad. Now, pre-existing conditions, I'm totally for it, but I'm against Obamacare because Obamacare is too expensive. I already got rid of the individual mandate, which was the worst part of Obamacare. That's where you had to pay a fortune for the privilege of not paying for bad health insurance. You understand that,
yes,
right?
sir.
So I got rid of it. And I got rid of it through the law. I got rid of it in our tax decrease.
Do you guys know why the individual mandate existed in the first place? The individual mandate existed because the idea was initially in the plan to offer a public option. Now, that's what you'll hear a lot of Democrats throwing around when talking about healthcare stuff. And so the idea was that if you had a public option and you were able to get everyone to pay into this healthcare system, like mandating that people had healthcare, that people would gravitate over time to the public option, which would be usually cheaper than the other insurance company options. However, the public option was scrapped. And so the individual mandate instead basically was just a way to make sure everyone had insurance, which was a huge boon to insurance companies and really took a lot of teeth out of the Affordable Care Act. So it eventually became not useful. But the original point behind the individual mandate was to get everybody used to having insurance.
The biggest tax decrease in the history of our country. We would have never been able to build up the economy if we didn't get that. But one of the things I got in there, I got rid of the individual mandate. And what I want to do is, and we're fighting to terminate, it's sort of I have terminated Obamacare, because once you get rid of the individual mandate, it's no longer Obamacare. But I had a choice to make, Rush. It was a big choice. Do I maintain Obamacare, the remnants of Obamacare after the mandate? Do I maintain it well, or do I run it badly? I could have done it either way. I have very good people over there, Alex Azar and Seema, the whole group. I said, you know what? We got to run it as well as it can be run. I have no choice. I
love how this is
and made
him.
everybody angry, but I didn't do that.
I love this. This is him admitting that he would run something badly. That idea is on his mind if he disagreed with the department.
When they ran it, they couldn't even do. Remember, they spent $50 million, $5 billion on the server. If you remember, they couldn't get the server right.
I do remember.
Oh yeah,
But
Canada's
there still is
healthcare
this
system is
confusion
way
about
better than what we have here.
conditions out there, and
Yeah,
you know, it's a frustrating thing because it's not even the correct title for what the plan does, but that's what people
correct.
think, and so that's how you have to deal with it.
It's correct. But what they do is they love to say that I'm going to get rid of pre-existing conditions. No, I want to terminate Obamacare and then come up with and we have it, come up with a great health care plan that's much less expensive.
The issue here is that what he is framing is that he will first get rid of Obamacare, and then he will come up with a magical, better system after it's gone. Except that what will actually happen is that the Affordable Care Act will just be gone, and we won't get another healthcare plan. And we won't get those healthcare protections, because you know what? Insurance companies don't want to offer insurance to people who have pre-existing conditions. That's why the Affordable Care Act had that clause in it. Because it needed to ensure that companies would actually cover people who had diabetes, people who had cancer, stuff like that. And if we lose that protection by losing the Affordable Care Act, you can bet your bootstraps that the people in bed with insurance companies, Republicans, are not going to include it in their next round of whatever their healthcare proposal is. No, it's just not going to be there, guys.
And does include people with pre-existing conditions. That's what I want to do. Now, they'll also say about Social Security.
But you need a Republican Senate for that, and you need a Republican House for that.
That's right. In order to do that, what will happen is if we win, the Democrats will do something to help get health care. I mean, they're going to come along because they have no choice. They're going to come along. They have no choice. I will say one thing. We talk about unity because I'd like to see the country come together. It's not as easy as people think. But just prior to the plague coming in from China, when the plague came in from China, people were calling. We had the lowest unemployment we've ever had.
Got to keep hammering home that it's from China.
We were up to 160 million people employed. We never were even close. Everybody had a job.
You had the lowest African-American unemployment in history since records have been kept.
That's right, Rush. So we had the best.
The issue is our employment numbers are kind of just a way to say that we're doing well, when in fact a lot of the jobs that we're offering are offering sub-living wages. And the employment numbers also take into account people who are working multiple jobs. So the employment of people is not a good metric to tout. That's what they keep hitting on when it comes to African Americans.
Numbers ever. We had the highest stock market, although I tell you, we're inches away right now for people's 401ks. If they held on to their stocks, they're very wealthy right now. And our economy is doing really amazing. I mean, considering that we're in this pandemic thing sent to us by China. But if you look at what we've done, and people were calling me, Rush, in terms of bringing our country together, that I really had never heard from before. In other words, they were not interested. And they were saying, like, let's start getting together. It was bring us together.
No
New
one
rock,
was
never
saying
have
this
use
to
it.
him.
Never have to. They did.
Called evil racist when all we want is for all Americans to be free, to have the blessed opportunity this Constitution and country offers everybody. We want a healthy and safe future, and we love everybody. How do we deal with this, sir? How do we finally shut this down?
The issue is all of their policies are meant to ensure that the people who are on the bottom, who need to scrape to make it in this country, need to stay in that position. Like, all of the institutional barriers that exist for poor people were put there on purpose in order to keep them poor, so that there is a working class willing to work for near starvation wages. That's the problem with their talk about freedom, is that their freedom, the Republicans, the conservatives' idea of freedom, is only freedom that applies to the rich, not freedom that applies to everybody. They don't want the poor to be able to pursue their dreams or passions. They just want the rich to be able to do that, because they view the poor as being in some way inferior, in some way less ambitious or less deserving. It's that attitude that enforces wage slavery.
What would you tell her?
I've watched this for a long time. I've had it. I've probably been a victim of it. You and I and a couple of others more than anybody.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Medicare for All, when they're talking about how expensive like healthcare plans are, Medicare for All is actually the cheapest option on the table. And you know why? Because all kinds of wealth gets poured into insurance companies to advertise their services, to lobby for less regulation, for all of these things, to grease the wheels of working with hospitals, all of those things. But you know where all of that money could be going instead? We could be pouring our public resources into one centralized plan, and that actually streamlines the entire field quite a bit. So we actually save money when we go to Medicare for All. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's something like $1.3 trillion every year, which is a lot of money, but it's actually less money than we spend now as a portion of our economy. So something like that. Yeah, something like 1.3 trillion. Do not quote me on the exact number. Just going off of it from memory, okay?
And we're just the opposite. When they give up.
Oh yeah, I would 100% get rid of private insurance. I don't think companies have any business profiting off of public goods like providing healthcare. I think everyone should just have that. If they live in the United States, if the United States is really the greatest country in the world, you should be able to go to the doctor without bankrupting yourself, okay?
When we're beating them, they have nothing else to fall back on but the word racist. And that means that when you're winning and you're just knocking the hell out of them, they have nothing else to say. They call you a racist. And this has been going on for decades. I don't know that you're going to stop it, but people are wise to it, and people are rolling their eyes now. They're rolling their eyes. It is just an incredible thing. The way they use the race word, the racist word, is actually disgusting. I was asked by Chris Wallace, who's third rate. I was asked by him. He was protecting Biden the other night. It was pathetic. I couldn't even ask him, why did you get $3.5 million from the mayor's wife of Moscow?
Right.
Why did you say $1 billion unless you get rid of the prosecutor, and then you give him?
Ghost, what are you talking about? Like, globalist is a term Nazis tend to use for Jews. Like, it's their dog whistle for Jews. Ghost, are you a secret Nazi? Just be honest.
the $1 billion.
Oh,
and Chris
okay.
Wallace was,
Okay.
and he was choking like a dog. He wasn't able to answer, and Chris Wallace would go in and save him every time. That whole thing was disgraceful.
I
Well,
gotcha.
You know what we're going to do
Whenever
today? You know what we're going to
What?
do? We're going to give you a chance
I'm
to
sorry,
actually
my
respond
thoughts-
to Joe Biden.
My thoughts were 1,000 miles away, thinking of how we've listened to almost an hour of this, and Trump is just inane, and what it must be like to inhabit that headspace where the most complicated ideas he can come up with are like a 2-year-old's conception of politics.
Out of code.
Anybody who could go down 300 to 3,000 feet in the mine, sure and hell can learn how to program as well.
So did that any stuff out of the ground that wells and clean coal is amazing. You know, we have
Term that's thrown out there, and I know what it is. I can explain it. A lot of people can, but a lot of people don't know what it is and why it's so outrageous that they will not commit and they will not get their story straight on whether or not they're going to ban it. What is
Oh, Ghost, I was just saying that a lot of Nazis use the word globalist as in their circles they would go, yeah, the world's run by globalists. You know, like they use they use globalists as like a reference to their theory that the world is run by a secret cabal of Jews. It is not, for the record. That's like a literal stupid and insane thing to think. So, yeah, but that's what Nazis think.
it?
Well, basically, it's getting energy out of the ground really efficiently and getting every drop of it, and it's created wealth for our country like you wouldn't believe, and it's really been over the last small number of years that's really become. You know, you used to see these massive oil wells, and you
You can basically go in and drill sideways in the
drill
shale.
sideways. They can drill up and front. It is not necessarily a bad thing, Rush. You know, you understand that. Jobs in this country in people in Oklahoma.
I'm
Any
getting bored.
Questions about how she'll rule until after she's
I couldn't get because it should be 100% for the black community, the African American community, with jobs and everything else. No,
Holy
I've
shit,
done-
they're just talking about the
He
same
would not-
things over and over.
I agree, but he was not able to answer the Russia thing, and he was choking, and he was not able to answer.
American people say they are better off today, even during the pandemic,
I
than
know.
they were 4 years ago. That's stunning to me. That's
people
the highest
are-
number on
People are
record.
biased
I
towards
know.
their current
Highest number
situation.
ever recorded that they're better
guys.
off today than they were at any time before during a pandemic. And that's what I've built, and we've built this. And the only reason we're doing well is because the foundation was so strong, Rush. The foundation. If we didn't have a strong foundation, you'd be 1929. And if he got in, you'll be 1929 because he's going to raise
What the
everybody's
fuck?
taxes. They don't talk about that either. He's going to raise everybody's taxes. And you
What?
know what else they never talk about? Something that I think is a very, very important thing, the Second Amendment. They don't say that he's going
It'll
to
be
take away
ni-
your guns.
Is
They
he implying that
never
Joe
talk
Biden's
about
going
it.
to
Never
make us
comes up
into
in the
Nazi
debate. That and
Germany?
immigration, those two subjects never come up. They haven't come up at either of the debates yet.
That's right. That's right. So it's it's pretty crazy. It's amazing that here we sit in the White House. Every once in a while I say it's not fair the way I get treated, and then I'm sitting in the Oval. I'll say, oh, this is the Oval Office.
You're there, and they're not.
So it's pretty amazing, and that's because the people get it. The people of this country are really smart, and they do get it, and they can do everything they can. And again, the only thing is, I don't know why they do it, but they do it. They're very dishonest and evil in many ways. But
Well, these people-
the people of the country get it.
They do.
Yeah, you don't think that when Donald Trump is on a show like this and talking about how evil his opponents are, you don't think that that is sending a message to people on the far right who are like, willing to plan the kidnapping of a governor from the opposing political party?
But they love you. Mr. President, seriously now, they know that you are the only person standing in the way of the left's efforts to undermine America and turn it into something it was. I mean, they're scared to death of what's going to happen if you lose. They're scared to death of what's going to happen if somehow these people can harm you. They want you to have a deep understanding of how much you mean to them, how important you are to them in preserving the American way of life. It is more important because
Oh
it's
yeah, the stock
at
market
risk.
crash of
The
29.
American way
Gotcha.
of life is at risk, and you, sir, are the only man standing in the way of people destroying that. This is what
Oh,
millions and
God.
millions and millions of Americans think. It's got to be a big burden.
Would say it, and I love the level of potential to be better than the 20. They don't have food, they don't have water, they don't have medicine. They have lots of wealth too. They have oil, but they have lots of wealth, but they have nothing. They've gone socialist and probably more. If you look at Kamala, that's more than social. You know, she's further left than Crazy Bernie. And this is what they want. They wanted her. I don't know why. I don't know if they're happy with her. I think she's not a good
Because she
representative.
couldn't win on her own, sir. They had to do this agenda
See how bad the ballot thing. You know, millions and millions.
punishments and how rebuilt the Amy.
By the way, they all, when we have our phone calls, we'll have 50 governors. They're all saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Rarely do we have anybody.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done with this. I wanted to get to the part where he says fuck, but I'm not willing to sit through another hour of this, okay, guys? I'm sorry. I just can't do it. I can't do it. My brain is melting. My attention span has been destroyed by this inane babble coming out of this very stupid man. Okay? Holy shit. Okay, let's see. We found it. There is no timestamp, but I will read the quote to you. Okay. Let's see. The president, 100%, and I ended that talking about like the United States Treasury relationship with like China and the World Trade Organization. I'm not going to accept that they're a developing nation. I wouldn't say China is in love with me. By the way, China is dying. Here's what will happen. Just a couple of predictions. We will win. We will have a great deal with Iran within a month. They're dying to have me lose, but if I win, rush. A great deal on what? The president. On nuclear weapons. By the way, you know the Iran nuclear deal? Which, it was... The Iran nuclear deal was specifically to prevent them from getting nuclear weapons, okay? Rush Limbaugh, no nuclear weapons. The president, don't forget, look at what's happened to terrorism. Iran was a very wealthy nation given $150 billion plus $1.8 billion in cash by Obama, a very wealthy nation, and now they're a very poor nation. And Iran's doing fine, guys. Iran's doing fine. It's not like the money that they got from the Iran nuclear deal was the only thing keeping their economy afloat. The 1.8 billion was actually their own money from the 1970s that was frozen in foreign accounts and given back to them as part of this peace deal. So, like, it's their own money anyway. But, let's see. And the terrorist organizations, I knock on wood as I say it, because it's easy to start something. They're not fighting like they used to. You know why? Because they have no money, because Iran is bust. Oh, I didn't realize that terrorist organizations would just give up if they didn't have money. But wait, weren't a lot of the terrorists using, like, homemade explosives and shit? Huh. Weird. Strange. Iran is bust because of me, because of sanctions and other things. And the whole picture of terror, you don't see the terror. You know, I hate to say it on an important show like this, but I'll say it. You don't see the terror the way you used to see the terror. This man is a fucking moron, guys. A fucking moron. I'm sorry for my language on this stream today, but holy shit, this is brain-melting garbage. Alright. And they know if they do anything against us, they'll pay 1,000-fold problem. They're gonna have 1,000-fold difference because they know now that we have things that we never had before. We have strength and weapons that we never had before. We never had it like we have it now, and Iran knows that. They've Iran knew we had nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons on any level dwarf anything that any other nation on this planet has, if they're a non-nuclear power, which is the entire reason Iran was trying to build nuclear weapons in the first place, because they recognize that it evens the playing field with other nuclear powers. This is just hammering home the reason they wanted nuclear weapons in the first place. Oh, my rank in StarCraft 2, at one point I got up to diamond, I think, or platinum, somewhere. Um, but I haven't played in a long time. Um, here we go. They've been put on notice. If you fuck around with us, you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before, and they understand that. But here's the thing, they're no longer rich, and they're not giving out hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas and all these other groups that caused all the problems. Now, nobody brings it up. When was the last time you saw an attack? Let's take a look, shall we? Uh, wait, well, I mean, like, they didn't actually attack, but the Michigan militia group, they were planning a terrorist attack.